What if I were to tell you that Marvel already wrote the blueprint for how the MCU is going to introduce the X-Men? It was not through a pitch meeting or not in Kevin Feige's boardroom, but rather a 1999 miniseries that most people slept on. A 6-issue story that introduced one of the most chilling anti-mutant villains in Marvel's history and gave us a villain that is now stepped in directly into Spider-Man Brand New Day. I'm talking about, of course, X-Men Children of the Atom, written by Joe Casey. And today I'm going to break down what the comic actually says and why it matters more than ever, and what William Metzger being cast in the upcoming Spider-Man film tells us what we need to know about where Marvel's heading with the mutant saga. X-Men Children of Atom came out in 1999 as a 6-issue limited series. It was a prequel to the very first X-Men comic from 1963, and it takes us back to see how the X-Men team actually formed together. The story follows Charles Xavier working alongside an FBI agent named Fred Duncan to quietly recruit 5 young mutants: Scott Summers, Hank McCoy, Bobby Drake, Warren Worthington III, and Jean Grey. Each of them is navigating a world that already hates them for something they didn't choose. Scott, Hank, and Bobby actually attend the same high school. Warren is out on the street acting as a vigilante hero in a costume, and he saves a store owner from a robbery only to get attacked by the same person the moment they realize he's a mutant. That moment right there captures the entire emotional DNA of this comic. But the story isn't just about Xavier building a team, it's equally the story of William Metzger. He runs a militia organization called the Anti-Mutant Militia. He published propaganda through something called the Militia Press. He shows up on broadcast, he holds rallies, and he positions himself as a political voice for human fear. Joe Casey draws a direct parallel between Xavier and Metzger, 2 men recruiting lost young people and pointing them toward completely opposite futures. And the interesting thing about this feature of William Metzger is that it's not to be cartoonish. He's actually very methodical and he's very media savvy. He frames mutants as a national crisis while presenting himself as a calm, reasonable public figure. He is a kind of villain who wins in press conferences before anyone can throw a single punch. His arc ends when, spoiler alert, Magneto kills him in the final issue, but the machinery he builds lives on. So why would I say that this is the MCU's blueprint for how they wanted to introduce the X-Men? In Spider-Man Brand New Day, it appears that William Metzger is being reimagined as the head of Damage Control. And that is a brilliant and deliberate update because Damage Control has been evolving from a cleanup crew into a full superhuman law enforcement agency across multiple MCU projects. They policed Spider-Man, they showed up in Wonder Man, and now they are positioned to police mutants as mutant abilities begin to emerge across the world. Thinking back to the foundations that Joe Casey built in 1999, it was a villain who did not need laser beams or a robot army to be terrifying. He needed a podium and a camera. He needed the institutional cover of legitimate authority to make his hatred feel like policy. The MCU version of Metzger does exactly the same thing, but now he has a government badge. He doesn't need to be a fringe militia leader when he can be the man in charge of federal superhuman oversight. And the trailer already does something interesting. It shows us that he approaches Spider-Man and frames the situation as a threat that cannot be controlled altogether. On the surface, that sounds like he just wants to be an ally, but that framing is the same move Metzger always makes. Position yourself as reasonable while building infrastructure designed to destroy the people you fear. I have a theory on how the MCU can introduce the MCU version of Sentinels and what comes next, because in the comics, Metzger has ties to Boulevard Trask and the Sentinel program. The MCU may be collapsing those 2 figures into one. Reports already been circulating that the captured Stark drones from Spider-Man No Way Home could be repurposed as technological foundation for the MCU Sentinels. If Metzger's head of Damage Control and Damage Control controls that hardware, you wouldn't really need Boulevard Trask at all. Metzger becomes the architect of mutant extinction wearing the face of federal law. Now, I'm not saying that the MCU is adapting X-Men Children of the Atom into Spider-Man Brand New Day, but what I am saying is that it's adapting the structural logic of Children of the Atom specifically. A world becoming aware of mutants for the first time, a government figure rising to frame that awareness as a crisis, young mutants navigating hatred they never asked for, Professor Charles Xavier working in the background. All of it was there, and it was just in this 1999 series. So I'm wondering if that's something that the MCU is going to incorporate to kind of build up to the X-Men. Thank you for watching. If you don't mind, do all the YouTube things, like, share, subscribe. Let me know what you think about X-Men Children of Atom being used as like kind of a blueprint in introducing the main X-Men characters. I'm very excited to see if this is Jean Grey. I feel like this is one of the worst kept secrets with Marvel and the MCU, but I could be wrong. It could be somebody else. But again, let me know what you all think in the comments below. I'm Anderson, and I'm out.